The early motivation to work on The Caretaker came on a music cue that formed in my mind. The motif helped me form my story and world. In the early 18th century, there was a term known as Boerhat. It is an Afrikaans word that means hatred to the Boer. After the Second Boer War, there was prejudice from the British toward the Afrikaans community. In British literature and editorial cartoons, they appeared as cruel and uncivilized. Animosity between the British and the Boers intensified prior to the Second Boer War, which was fought from 1899 to 1902 and continued thereafter. This very piece of history became my soul, the characters I focused on within my newest film, The Caretaker. Madame Victoria Constantine and her husband Andre were the products of 1970s South African white upper-class people who maintained their legacy of Afrikaans nationalism. They believed they were against colonialism, i.e. British control. They found themselves as pioneers to their community and people. So it helped me tell the story of a woman who held her husband and herself's legacy dear to her heart as the only form of mental stability. For me, the story was important to tell because as a person of color who has only seen one side of apartheid South Africa, being able to push past the concept of race to deconstruct the stories of the other side was a worthy experiment. In the understanding that every human being experiences trauma through witnessing the elderly in my own family, I could empathize with our initial character, and that was a part of the experiment. Victoria's legacy formed her karma, in the only form one can tell it, a classic horror tale. The Caretaker, starring Elma Potgieter, an Afrikaans veteran performer from the classic Sonja 1978, tells the story of Madame Victoria Constantine, an Afrikaans matriarch who mourns the death of her husband, Andre. Andre was viciously murdered by a wild animal in Drakensberg Mountains 5 years prior to our story. Her son, Sean, implores that she seeks help of a caretaker, since her age and trauma impacts her health. One night, a mysterious woman named Elana Cronor asks to be invited into Constantine's house to present her illustrious resume. Since the film was a period piece, the choices of 1973's setting had massive significance to the fact that The Caretaker was a tribute to the films and horror genre of that time. You see, while the backbone of Caretaker was a film of trauma and legacy, it was also, at heart, a vampire film.
There's a wolf howling down there.
Listen to them. Children of the night.
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
Hammer Horror was a huge series of horror films founded in the 1930s. They were the masters behind Bela Lugosi's Dracula, Boris Karloff's Frankenstein, and Lon Chaney Jr.'s Wolfman. Since then, they continued to create some of the genre's most special pieces of classic horror. The surname, Constantine, was stemmed from some of 1970s favorite horror B-grade classics like The Vampire Lovers and Twins of Evil. In 1973, not only did a Dracula film get released by Hammer Horror, but the world witnessed one of the best horror films of all time that year. A film called The Exorcist.
Why was that? I'm not going back in there.
Exorcist became my sense of direction for how Caretaker was handled. Its sense of noir lighting, silhouetting our priest or caretaker herself, and bringing the gothic sensibility of tropes like colossal castles, creeping mist, and austere production design became a massive inspiration to how I would make The Caretaker. The location, of course, was a main character to find, and by some chance, Danielle, my producer and main lead, found an old house in Johannesburg owned by another famous actor, André Stolz. The house was 100 years old. It spoke a language to us through its disturbing photographs of Afrikaans settlers and its historical antiques that became props for our set. Repurposing the house took a day. Then we shot within 2 days, and all during the lockdown curfews, which we had to abide by at that time.
Cognac.
Action. Working with the new team outside of the norm was a breath of fresh air. It was a dynamic connection of talents that understood each other, and in the end, we wrapped. Caretaker found its feet in its first incarnation at the Directors Award in London. Then it went to 4 Theatre Film Festival in California, and finally, in my own home, at the prestigious Durban International Film Festival. The Caretaker is again something that felt daring to work on, and the story of our caretaker, Alana Crono, deserved more attention as we attempted to grow her into a larger tale in the form of a limited series or feature film. Working with these people created a special bond, especially between Danielle Latif and myself. The partnership became one of understanding, and it's something I have only gratification for. Since then, my momentum came to a pause. The funding process of doing more films became tasking, and still is, but that did not prevent me from continuing. From more pitch decks to scripts for features and shorts, I kept myself busy throughout the day. Bringing these stories to life are proud accomplishments for me. They will forever be immortalized as mascots of my inspirations and hopefully make an impact to more viewers and filmmakers out there. My journey's chapter may have concluded for now, but there are plenty more pages left to write as I look on to the future.
Now, my friend, it's time to part. Couldn't fix that broken, shattered heart. Your shadow looms above me now. It's your face I see when I am in the dark. Dark break my heart. Right from the start, I held your hand, I had your back. Do it all again to stop you in your tracks. Fell into a black lake, starving my strong faith. Wonder how my blood tastes tonight. My head's in a dark place. Will my soul be safe if I jump into